Waiting for Jonathan Parienti, I guess.
Hello, Céline. So we are undertaking, like the situation with our prior speaker, Cecilia, who will be joining in few minutes. So let me please introduce our second speaker, a dear friend of mine. Céline Bacro is for a long time involved in economic affairs at UNCTAD. And she's focusing on trade, regional integration, and trade facilitation. She is actively involved in the development of Eastern Africa, and we are, very pleased to have her share a view and insight with us, being very closely connected with the economic force, the entrepreneurs, the people that are building the economy of one of the most paramount continent for future sustainable and inclusive development. So Céline, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. It's the pleasure is mine. I'm very glad to contribute to the work of Horyou with the CGF, and I think it's very timely to organize such webinars on the impact of COVID and how the world can be prepared to work on the recovery. So on my side, I will focus my presentation on the linkage between trade and technology. What we see is that the world cannot go without technology, and this applies everywhere in the world, not only for the developed countries but also for the developing and particularly the least developed countries. So I would like to talk about four areas. One is the e-commerce. During the COVID, we could see that e-commerce was key. We were all in lockdown. We couldn't go out, or for limited purchases like food or medicines. But e-commerce was still working very well, and it has shown that this trend that we have seen for many years is now in our lives, and is going to be searched for more increasingly for the near future. The second point is the role of technology in increasing government efficiency in the delivery of public services. And this is very important because it's not only on the consumer side that we see the impact of technology, but also on the government, which has really taken up the challenge to reform and upgrade their system to provide good quality services and in response to the needs of the population. And the third point is how trade and technology together were responding to the challenges that we were confronted in with the COVID. And last is the role of technology in providing, in increasing social justice to the population. So I'm gonna go through these 4 points quickly. I think that I have a few minutes, so I'll be quick. But that's really the main aspect that I want to tackle during this session. E-commerce is huge. But I'm sure that you don't even realize how huge it is when we look at the figures. In 2018, to give you some figures from UNCTAD, from my organization, we have the estimate of $25.6 trillion US. That was the volume of e-commerce in the world in 2018, 25.6 trillion US dollars. So that's huge. We are talking about something which is massive, and we have to integrate it in our lives, in our thinking, in our programmatic plans for those who work on development or business. It's something which is huge. And compared to 2017, we had an increase of 8%, and this is going to increase, I would say forever, almost. So that's something that we really have to take into account. In this e-commerce, the US, China, and the UK are the main players for now, and also the European countries. But we can see also some emerging countries taking that trend, and particularly on the consuming side. So we have Thailand, we have India, we have Brazil, which are also joining the leading team. We can estimate that in 2018 still we had 1.45 billion people who made purchase online. So which means that it's 1/4 of the total world population has made a purchase online. So it's integrated, it's there. So what we can see is that this has been possible thanks to the technology. Now we have internet, and this is made possible. So what it means is that and particularly now for the developing and the least developed countries, e-commerce has become a source of growth. Now, thanks to e-commerce, you can book a safari online. You can book some vacation anywhere in the world. Everything is accessible. When we say sky is the limit, yes, almost. We can book anything online. If you talk about handicraft or traditional organic fair trade products now, you can find it online. If you want to buy directly to the traders in, I don't know, Burkina Faso, buying your shea butter, you can do it. And this is a great potential for the poorest countries, because suddenly they don't have the barriers that they were lacking before. Now the market is open. And when I talk about market, it's the world market. So this is a fantastic boost for the trade of these poorest countries. And not only poor, I mean, for everyone in the world. So it's a capacity that was not offered before. And these opportunities will be really fully maximized by the countries if they have access to infrastructure. So again, technology is at the forefront for these people to grasp, the opportunities that are offered right now through internet. So that's really fantastic. Obviously, this is not the case for everyone, because we have to keep in mind that as of today, we have almost 3 billion people who are still not connected to internet. And for these people, the divide is huge. So when we talk about the digital divide, we are talking about this half of the world, almost more than 3 billion people who are excluded from this world of technology, of e-commerce, of trading opportunities. And that's something that we have to work on. And in my organization, UNCTAD, we have specific branches, department working on it to help these countries enhance their capacity and upgrade their IT systems to offer these opportunities. The second point is about the government processes. We were talking about e-commerce and e-commerce benefiting the people and the traders. Now we see also that the government are responding to the challenge, and they understand that they have also to contribute to something which is bigger in the sense that everyone in the world, government, citizens, should contribute to the well-being of the population, to the competitiveness of the countries, to economic growth, to social well-being. So for this to happen, the governments have a role to play, obviously, as delivering the basic services, basic social services to the population. And looking at the trade lenses or trade perspective, what we can see is that the countries have invested and still invest in technological solutions being integrated in customs, for instance, with the electronic single windows, with access to information, with the trade information portals where you can have access to any kind of information related to trade, import, export, transit operations. And this move towards digitalization and automation has really enhanced the capacity of traders. So what we see is that we have a reduction of time and cost of trade procedures. So this increases the competitiveness of a country. If you can guarantee to a trader that by investing in their country, by trading in this country, you will spend less time and less money on doing administrative procedures, on doing your clearance of goods, then it's a very, very strong advantage. So you attract investment and you attract trade and the potential for growth. So that's something that we can see in all the countries. Electronic single window is something that we see in it's a trend which is increasing. We have more about 120, 130. I don't want to make any mistake on that, but in the world, so it's really a massive growth that we see. And I'd like to also mention the Trade Facilitation Agreement, which was adopted by the member states of the World Trade Organization in 2017. The Trade Facilitation Agreement entered into force in 2017, and most of the articles were actually encouraging the member states toward the simplification through automation, through the adoption of technological tools, IT solutions. And it's estimated that we could have a reduction of trade cost in the world by 13 to 15%. So it's a massive, it's really massive for the traders, but also in terms of attractivity of the countries. So it's a win-win solution. Everybody wins. The traders win, and by making more profit, they also make more. They also pay more tax to the country. So the country is also the one who benefit from this IT solutions integrated into the system. So this is very important because we can see that there is some kind of change management within the government administration or the public administration to accompany the efforts towards competitiveness, but also to make them a partner in this solution. So that's very important. We can, again, in UNCTAD, we are assisting and providing technical cooperation, technical assistance to help these countries respond to these challenges. It costs a lot. That's the problem. IT solution cost. So we help them acquire the financing, help them to empower their skills, upgrade their skills so that they can respond to the challenge. So that's the second point that I wanted to see with you. The third point is actually how technology has allowed a better response to the COVID. Actually, by technology, we don't need to go physically to meet public institutions. We were all in the same situation. We were inside at home, and we were using our computer to get access to information. So this move to go digital, to go paperless, was made possible through technology. And we realized, we didn't know how useful it could be until the COVID came, and we realized that we were in the going with the sense of history, as we say in French, sens de l'histoire. And we have to accelerate this move even more now, because we know that it's important, we know that it's relevant, but we know also that it increased the efficiency of the government, but also the consumers. It helped them to improve their capacity as traders, as consumers. So it's really the way forward. Technology should accompany and should be accelerated in every way in trade development. The last point, which is extremely important, is that through technology, thanks to technology, we have also an increase in terms of social justice. Technology allows the access to information, allows the access to some kind of voice, I would say technology is a way, if we want to increase democratic structures in a country. I'm talking, I have a computer, so I'm able to speak. Imagine for those who don't. So technology is a way to increase social justice. And in that sense, it's very, very important. So it means that if it brings social justice, we need to make sure that everybody has access to this technology. And that's my conclusion, in the sense that we still have to work on ensuring that everybody has access to technology, everybody has access to internet, to have a voice and contribute to the welfare of the world. Thank you, Jonathan.
Well, thank you very much, Céline, for this very passionate and articulated outline and highlights. Céline, one question will be for you, having lived this unprecedented challenge, which is maybe acting as an awakening versus the 2030 agenda of the United Nations that we all know is absolutely paramount for humanity to and nations to adopt. What will be your maybe vision or comments that could be, like more acting as a catalyst? What will be the good we could, explore from this challenge that can help you having more support in achieving the 2030 agenda that we all strive for?
I would say that Horyou has a role to play, definitely, by working on giving access to this technology. And there are sometimes very, very simple solutions. You can have some startups who need visibility to create a market, to be known, to get some visibility. So through Horyou, they can have this kind of platform, and that's one example. And I'm limiting my response to trade. They need visibility, and they need also this access. Sometimes they don't know where to go. Where they could go. I mean, if I take the example of a small trader, woman small trader, again, let's say in Uganda, where to go? She's got she has created a beautiful product, handmade. She doesn't know how to disseminate, to make it known so that she could sell it to the world. So she needs a marketplace, but she can't compete with Amazon or Jumia, who is excellent in Africa. But she needs maybe something smaller, more to her scale. So Horyou could develop this kind of platforms for small traders, and becoming some kind of step towards something more massive, which would require some kind of preparedness to competition. You can't go to Amazon unless you know that you are fully ready to compete. So you see some kind of platform that would be excellent.
Okay,
ideas, but I think that's the main solution that you could provide.
Well, thank you for including us into the aspect of solutions that can support achieving 2030 agenda. One maybe message, Céline, you would like to share with our citizens of the world audience, knowing that you are constantly acting as a bridge between Europe continent, international organization, and Africa. What will be the message you could convey to us to give us, maybe more hope for facing, the time we have to build all together?
One message. I think that the COVID has shown that we are all united. We're all linked, and having a virus could be. I mean, it's lethal, and unfortunately, a lot of people died. But at the same time, it showed also how connected we are, in the good way and the bad way. In the bad way, in the sense that if I'm contaminated, I can contaminate the others. So I have to preserve myself in order to preserve the others. So it's the bad way, but at the same time, it means that we are very much connected. And if I can bring some good, the others can do, and all together we can work together on something which could be exceptional. And I think that we all destined to make something good in the world. So that's the time now.
So Céline, you feel through your work and through the interactions that you see in the PPP aspect, public-private partnership, you see things are evolving in an encouraging manner. Do you feel that over the years, have you seen, and do you feel that this is going in the right direction, and maybe this post-COVID situation might be actually a catalyst and an accelerator for adoption of the right partnership, the right behaviors?
I'd like to say it by word, but I don't remember clearly exactly. The Secretary General of the United Nations made a statement a few days ago or a few weeks ago, saying that now it was time to include partners, which we are not used to work with, and I think is right in the sense that we are all concerned. And so we should not think like we used to think. We should not work like we used to work. Now the time has changed. It's a complete different ball game. So we have to include everyone, and because everyone has something to contribute to. And I'm not talking about something very idealistic when I say that. Is that now everybody has a role to play. So let's integrate together, everyone. Let's talk, sit at the same table or on the same screen, and find the proper solutions.
Well, Céline Bacro, thank you very much for from United Nations Agency for the development. Thank you very much, Céline, and all the very best to you. And looking forward building those exploratory partnership and thoughts to build a more inclusive and sustainable world. Thank you very much, Céline.
Thank you, and good luck for this day, special day. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, I think we are going now to welcome another passionate and inspiring innovator. So we are now joined with Zach Fenster. So let me introduce very briefly Zach. Zach is involved into a leading disruptive technology company, which is bringing through technology its impact to have access and universal access to water. This company is called WaterGen. We had the pleasure to have them involved in the last edition of CGF that happened in Davos in January 2020. And Zach, it is our pleasure and privilege to listen to how technology can be supportive of a healthier and more harmonious future. So please, Zach, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to be with you and with all of the viewers, if not physically, then at least virtually in these crazy and trying times. It's truly a privilege to be here and to be with such an esteemed list of speakers, both in this session and in the sessions that will come. And I think that this session is so important because as we see in these days and months that we've been experiencing, we need technology in order to meet the challenges not only of the future, but of today. And I think that there is no challenge that is more pressing today and in the future than the problem of global drinking water scarcity. This is a problem that I think today is already the most severe, right? Just to give the viewers some sense of the numbers, which are really almost hard to fathom. 1.7 million children die every year because of a lack of access to safe and clean drinking water. 2 billion people worldwide drink water from sources that have feces. The World Health Organization has estimated that just in the next 5 years, we're going to cross the line, and more than 50% of the global population will be living in drinking water stressed areas. And yet we oftentimes tend to think that this drinking water scarcity crisis is far away in some distant country. And I think what we've been seeing more and more, and what the COVID crisis has also shown us, is that we cannot take our basic needs that we require as human beings in order to survive for granted. And indeed, we've seen in stories that have gained a tremendous amount of publicity and which are unfortunately only increasing, that in countries from the United States to Europe to Asia, drinking water is a problem, not in some faraway place, but in our own backyard. So I would like to just briefly share my screen with you and present very quickly WaterGen, which is the solution which we are bringing to the world in order to solve this drinking water crisis. And we're doing so by tapping into a unique and patented technology that was developed by the founders here in Israel, and which was identified by today the person who is the president and CEO of WaterGen, Dr. Michael Mirilashvili, who decided to use this incredibly powerful technology in order to address this global drinking water crisis around the world. And that is what we are doing. WaterGen is currently working on every continent in the world except for Antarctica, in more than 60 countries. And that list is growing every day. So I'm going to share my screen quickly with you all. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. So WaterGen. Now, as I mentioned, the global drinking water crisis is a crisis which is felt in every country virtually around the world. And people don't totally understand why that is. And the reason is here. It's a two-part problem. The first problem, of course, is that in order to have clean drinking water, we require a source. Right? And because of rising global temperatures, because of climate change, because of pollution, because of a range of different factors, that source is currently disappearing around the world, right? Drought is an increasing problem, not only in the desert of the Arab Gulf, but also in the southwestern United States. And that source is evaporating as our global population and global demand for clean drinking water is expanding. But there is also an additional cause of that clean drinking water scarcity problem, and that is transportation. Even if you have a clean source of clean drinking water, you need to get it, of course, to the person who needs it. And unfortunately today, in most of the developed cities around the world, and of course in more rural and off-grid areas, transportation of drinking water is actually not just not providing to people the clean drinking water that they need, but actually poisoning that water as it's on its way from the source to the individual who needs it. Now, and I know that there are professionals tuning in and speaking later today from the developing world. The amount of resources that have been poured in and that continue to need to be poured in to global infrastructure in order to solve this problem are tremendous. They're almost incomprehensible. And yet, as we've seen and as I've described, the problem is only getting worse day by day by day. So what WaterGen has aimed to do, again, animated by that vision of our leadership and of our president, Dr. Mirilashvili, is to fundamentally change the equation for how drinking water is first cultivated and second deployed, in order to make sure that every single person around the world, no matter who they are, no matter where they live, no matter what their station in life is guaranteed what we believe to be the human right of access to clean drinking water without fear of infection or disease. So what has WaterGen done? WaterGen has created a solution that provides both a new source and a new way of deploying that clean drinking water source directly to the people who need it. It's a completely environmental solution. First of all, because the overstressed resources that are collapsing under demand can be given a break. And second, and most importantly, because when you're creating and delivering drinking water straight to the people who need it, you don't need any carbon intensive shipping. You don't need any plastic bottles and containers which turn into plastic waste. 1 million plastic bottles are purchased every minute on our earth, and only 10% of them, actually a little bit less than 10%, are recycled. So the drinking water scarcity crisis today feeds into the issue of sustainability and our climate crisis. And by creating clean drinking water from the air, we can address the clean drinking water scarcity and fully solve it, but also work towards a cleaner, more sustainable and greener future. And of course, because we're creating clean drinking water directly at the point of use, it's accessible to anyone. It's decentralized, it's not dependent on a central grid, and it can be deployed anywhere. We are already working, as I mentioned, in more than 60 countries around the globe, and we're being approached constantly by more and more potential partners, potential distributors all over the world. In Asia, the demand is tremendous, and Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe, the United States, Latin America, everywhere. Really, we've worked, as I mentioned, really all over the globe. And I would like to just show you, I hope that, so I need to share my screen again, excuse me. I'd like to show you just some pictures quickly of that work around the world, because I think it will give you a good brief idea. That we have some videos, but it's hard to share in this format, so I'll just show you a picture quickly. So this picture right here, I hope you can see clearly, was taken just last month in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. South Africa, unfortunately, has seen a spike and is really peaking now in infections of COVID. And villages are on complete lockdown. And so this project, which was done in cooperation with the Ford Foundation and with World Vision, which is a global aid organization, takes WaterGen's unit, which you can see in the left side of your screen, that blue square cube, and connected it to a mobile trailer and to an electrical generator. And it's serving communities in this drought-stricken and COVID-stricken area so that people can go to a publicly designated area, collect, as you can see, our high quality drinking water and take it home with them. And this is so critical for this area particularly because actually the water sources, although they're polluted, the water sources that had existed in the community before WaterGen were also far outside the village. But now the villagers, because of the closures and the quarantines, can't leave. So this is a solution that we could bring to them. And that's obviously incredibly critical, not only in South Africa, but in our work around the world. And the other picture I would like to show you here, we have a video which I would be happy to share with the group, which would more clearly show it, but I'll give you the backstory. This picture was taken from the Gaza Strip, a couple of weeks ago. This is a project. It's actually the second water gen project that we've conducted in the Gaza Strip, with more on the way. Of course, you know, the challenges of working as an Israeli company that's providing a technology to the Gaza Strip are clear, but I think, and as Ms. Bancroft mentioned in her own words, I think, you know, so powerfully and eloquently, the COVID crisis and the drinking water crisis as well are something that unite all of us. Everyone needs clean drinking water. And so WaterGen is working all over the world, including in the Gaza Strip. This project and this machine was installed on the top of a hospital inside of Gaza. It's a hospital that has the only children's cancer ward, pediatric cancer ward in the entire Strip. And as COVID approached, they needed to completely lock down the hospital and, of course, lock down the ward because of the immunosuppressed status of the patients. And there was no way to deliver drinking water given their current system. Dr. Mirilashvili responded to their request quickly, and within between a few days and a couple of weeks, we essentially had this machine already deployed. And this machine is installed on the roof producing water, and what you see here are the technicians actually connecting it to a pipe which goes down and is installed directly inside of the pediatric cancer ward, so that the ward can be on full lockdown. There needs to be no concerns over the possibility of someone bringing water into the ward, contaminating the patients, contaminating the children. And so this is just another example, I think, of the incredibly important, critical, and powerful work that we're able to do, that WaterGen is doing around the world, particularly in the times of COVID-19, in order to guarantee safe and clean drinking water for every human being.
Zach, thank you very much for articulating and conveying this inspiring message that technology, in a very concrete manner, can be, you know, like supportive of addressing one of the human key challenges, which is access to water. Maybe, Zach, just one brief question. What will be maybe your vision, and the vision as well that you could convey from your founder and chairman, in terms of leveraging this unprecedented time where solidarity, empathy, and willingness to preserve life has been expressed, to be able to accelerate the adoption of the United Nations 2030 agenda, and in that particular case, the solving of the access to water. What will be your message for the international audience that we have today listening to you?
Absolutely. So, of course, as you're mentioning regarding the 2030 agenda, right, clean water is obviously SDG number 6. And in these particularly difficult times, the president and CEO, Dr. Mirilashvili, has made clear that despite the difficulties, we really can work and are working throughout the crisis. So these last few months has actually been our peak and most busiest months up to date. In large part because, as I was just mentioning with the Gaza case, but this is true around the world, the access to an independent access to clean drinking water is absolutely critical for global health and stability. So we've deployed, just 2 weeks ago, the president of Guatemala launched the cooperation in his country, which is being hit extremely hard by COVID-19 right now, and also by a hurricane. Hurricane Amanda essentially devastated that area. And we launched, we sent our machines there as quickly as possible, and the president launched the first phase a few weeks ago of a multi-stage process, which will also ultimately include the building of a local factory in order to completely solve the drinking water crisis in that country. So my message is that despite the difficulty, despite the crisis, and despite, I think, the increasingly dire predictions that present us in the coming years, I think technology broadly and WaterGen very especially and specifically provides hope and the ability to not only tackle these challenges and bring us back to the place that we might have been before, but actually make our water situation much better than it ever was. And what we're doing in Guatemala is something, it's just an example of what we're doing around the world. I mentioned before, the Asian countries and Australia are particularly, the work that we're doing there is moving extremely quickly, and the amount of attention that that WaterGen is attracting there, in addition to other places around the world, is huge.
Okay, well, Dak, I would like to extend our thanks for all your team and yourself to be, like, supportive such a noble cause. And we look forward the many partnership we will be able to establish and support with a public-private partnership objective, leveraging technology for a healthier and more harmonious future. Thank you very much, Dak Fenster from WaterGen. And
thank you very much. Thank you.
Now we are going to be welcoming our next speaker. So I think exactly. So
good morning.
I have great privilege and pleasure to welcome Minister Tashkovich with us today. Minister, I think that technology is not only, like, from a theoretical, but we are living now, like, connecting us from multiple, like, thousands of kilometers. So how is the time in New York, Minister?
Well, there are very few people I get up at 3:15 in the morning for, Jonathan. You're one of them. So it's a high honor to be here. I'm glad to be back. It's my second intervention at the SIGEF conference, and I'm delighted that you've been able to adapt to the challenges of this pandemic to bring this event to your global audience.
Well, thank you, Minister. Thank you. So we are fully, pleased that we are, welcoming you for the second time. You were, one of our first landmark speaker in 2014 for the launch of CGF in Geneva with the support of the Swiss Confederation. Minister, some things have happened over the last 6 years, and we are now facing a global human challenges. So we will be, very much welcoming your statements and your thoughts, and be able, to get inspiration from your experience as a minister dealing with foreign investment for the government of Macedonia. Please, Minister, the floor is all yours.
Let me try and adapt this presentation. How do I do this now? She brings it up. Very good. Thank you, Layla. And then do I have to go into full screen mode to make that look nice? Let's see. Like that. And like that. Okay. Great. Okay. And now, how does this work? But now, how do I get back to the... phooey. I think I'm going to be... hang on. I think I'm going to have to go like that so that I can actually manipulate this. If I go... Oh, wait. So how does this work? I have to... I guess you can see me, but then I have to stay in PowerPoint to switch forward and backward. Maybe that's it. All right. So we'll do that. Okay. First, a comment about the small company for whom I work, a DA International Group. We're a small Seattle-based company with 15 people. And we have offices in Seattle, Washington State in the Northwest, and Shenzhen in China. And basically, if you have an idea but you have no way to build it, we can help you engineer it, manufacture it, warehouse, and distribute it around the world. And we have this wonderful team of 6 quality assurance professionals in China who make sure that every manufactured batch of product that we produce in any number of factories is done to international specifications. So that's just an idea for all the people out there who've ever had an idea and said, oh, but I wish I knew how to make this a reality. We're the ones who can help you. I want to talk this morning about infection control, and specifically the inhibition of microbes. And so my talk is really going to focus on several products in this area that can be helpful. And I'm illustrating these products because I imagine that they're not well known all around the world. And my objective in showing them is not so much to sell them. That's not the point. The point is to make your audience aware that they exist and can help the environments and countries in which they live, especially with respect to this coronavirus. So we're talking now about infection control, inhibition of microbes, and about not wanting to give microbes a surface to live on. So this is a company called Seal Shield. Seal Shield makes these dishwasher safe, antimicrobial keyboards and mice and screen protectors. Now, if you've been to a doctor's office, some doctor's offices, you'll know that the healthcare staff, the doctors and nurses, the technicians, they often share a computer in the examination rooms. And so different hands are touching the keyboard, the mice, the screen perhaps. And if the patient they're dealing with is infected, that infection can transfer to the computer and it can be picked up by the next healthcare professional. So with Seal Shield products, you prevent that from happening. And so that's really a wonderful step forward in infection control to keep our healthcare and frontline providers healthy. That product, by the way, this product here is just an example showing how you can wash it with soap and water and underwater, the mice, and still it functions. So what makes this possible? The technology is called Silver Seal. It's an antimicrobial coating. And I don't know how universal this cereal is. There's a cereal in America and perhaps in Europe called Chex, C-H-E-X. And it's a little like a tic-tac-toe board, a honeycomb, thing like this. And so what we do is with the Silver Seal, we encapsulate into the plastic resins of the, well, how to explain this? It's embedded, the seal is embedded into the plastic resins of the device. And it looks like a piece of Chex cereal or a piece of a tic-tac-toe board. As the moisture in the air touches the resins that have the silver impregnated into it, it leaches microscopic protection over the product. And the bacteria can't grow on it, making the surface, that is the keyboard or the mouse, inhospitable to bacteria. The silver then, these are the microscopic parts, right? The silver explodes the cell walls, and the cells generally die within 4 hours, with 99.99% of them dying within 24 hours. Let's see, next slide. This device, the UVC, is ultraviolet sea level, LED, light emitting diode, sterilization bag, allows you to sterilize other items like your smartphone or your glasses or a pen, for example, or even perhaps a tablet, a small computer. And this kills bacteria using the UVC spectrum and these light emitting diodes emitting UVC. It doesn't deteriorate plastic, and it doesn't need electricity to work. That is a downside, I suppose, for many of your viewers. These UVC light emitting diodes are stronger. That is to say, they're more effective, efficient. They work faster than the metal-based alternative. these devices are very popular. My company sold 255,000 of them to the Federal Emergency Management Authority in the southeastern part of America. And Brazil is in the process of shipping nearly 1 million of them into Brazil. Terrible what's going on down there. And if you haven't seen these before, this is a real invention, technology jump over how temperature used to be measured. There used to be probes that you could put under your arm, into your backside, under the tongue of your mouth. And now finally we have a device you can point and shoot using passive infrared receiving technology without contacting the patient. The measurements take place in 2 seconds. It's an easy operation. You just click the button. It's on off. And the fancier models have different options, like this one, you can save the last 20 temperature readings that you have. There are also devices out there, again, made in China, that allow you to put a kind of a piece of tape, if you will, or an edging along the doorway of a building entrance. And then you can have an employee with a camera at the other side, like maybe you've seen in airports once upon a time during the other pandemics we've had of different scales. And so that way, when there's a change of classes, if 50 people are coming through the door, you can tell if anyone has a fever, and you can send that person home so they don't get other people sick. So this is just a larger scale institutional approach to infrared thermometry. And lastly, we have the pulse oximeter. Even this was something I hadn't heard about very much until COVID took place. But during these quarantine times where you're told to stay in your apartment, in your home, and not go to the emergency room unless you absolutely have to, this is one way to determine when you absolutely have to. Because those of us who are very tough and very strong, if we feel bad, we'll just tough it out, or we'll try to muddle through it or whatever. But here with a pulse oximeter, and these devices are pretty inexpensive as devices go, you can just put your toe, your finger, or even your earlobe into the device, and it will tell you what the oxygen saturation level is. And generally, I'm not a doctor, but generally it should be 95 or above. 100 is perfect. But if you have COVID and you don't realize you have it, and all of a sudden you feel very malaised, very ill, and you have one of these in your home, and I really think these will become a necessary part of everyone's home, and you see it drop into the 80s or the 70s, you should immediately go to the emergency room of the hospital. There should be no hesitation, no matter how strong you think you are, because that's really a life-threatening sign. So that's pretty much what I want to say about that, but it measures the saturation of oxygen in the blood. It's used mostly to gauge warning signs for people with chronic lung or heart conditions. It turns out to have another benefit for monitoring people who have COVID-19. So those are pretty much my remarks. Now, how do I get back to where we were here? Here we are. Jonathan?
Yes.
Yes. Hello.
Minister, so thank you for the enlightenment of those concrete solutions, technological solutions that are, really, showing how fast and how timely and creative and innovative we can be to face challenges that we are, experiencing at the present moment. Maybe, Minister, just a more global question to have your vision, and I would say, vis-a-vis, this unprecedented time where all nations are mobilized all together, what will be your message you would like to convey to the citizens of the world, that sustainability, technology, innovations are a central pillar to help build the world of tomorrow? What will be maybe your message in a 1 minute answer?
Oh, that's a very generous question. I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that. I was just thinking, though, as I was getting ready for this early this morning, I was part of the team of about 150, 200 people around the world that built the internet, right? And of course, technology has a way of leapfrogging and progressing faster than most people can keep on top of it until you absolutely have to use it. And so, for example, this StreamYard technology you're using this morning is great because I've learned all this stuff that works on the foundation of the internet, which I helped to build many decades ago. In terms of what you're saying, I think it's really an issue of accessibility to technology, because I keep thinking about the people watching this, and I suspect that a good many of them are in Africa, they're in India, they might be in China, but they're probably not so much in London or New York. Just a sense I have. And so I think the objective behind my talk is really to help people understand that there are technologies out there which can ameliorate the situations we're facing right now in the world. And I think, in terms of your question, one of the things that bothers me the most about how countries and leaders of certain countries have approached this is that there's this false notion that you can never be wrong. There's a false notion that you always have to have the lowest number, the least this, somehow this makes you look like a better leader. And I think the better example is the case of New York State Governor Cuomo, who led New York, which had the worst concentration of cases in the entire world at one point, and through 111, I think it was, daily press conferences, he rolled out the science, he rolled out the data and the charts, and he explained what was happening. He explained how you could solve this and how you could limit the spread. And he took ownership of the problem. And I would like to see world leaders act more like Governor Cuomo and less like the authoritarian leaders of the world who think that they somehow look better by admitting less. I think there's no shame in taking the situation and working through it and with the people on your side. So that's really what I want to say, that I'd like to see a different degree of openness, a different degree of understanding about how the world has to work together to manage this pandemic.
Well, Minister, thank you for this commitment of yours, supporting companies and innovations to find and convey the solutions to face this pandemic. Thank you for your availability this early morning in New York, which was, like a city, and we had many exchanges, very hard hit by this crisis. And thank you for your always mobilization and inspiring, involvement to support a leading force of creativity and innovation that are, like working on building a more sustainable future. So, Minister, I convey to you our best and warmest regards from the people that have joined us from all over the world, and we look for the next exchange to build more partnership, more synergies that will impact this world positively. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for your team to make all this happen.
Thank you very much.
The next iteration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.